that like the grass is greener over there in that other teaching, in that other book. There's going to be some new piece of information that's going to make everything clear all of a sudden. But time and time again, I'm shown that I don't need to travel far. I don't need to read new things. I just need to open up in new ways, deeper. So, why am I talking about this? Because I picked up an old book, one that I've read over and over. There's a bunch of essays in it. It's called The World of Zen, an East-West anthology, the first comprehensive anthology of Zen Buddhism, selected, edited, and with an introduction by Nancy Wilson Ross. It's pretty sweet. There's some nice teachings in here. And I'm trying to find the date for when it was published. It was published in 1960. So keep that in mind, it's interesting. But I found an essay in here, it's short and sweet, by Chang Chen-Chi. Practicing Zen through observing one's mind in tranquility, the Non-Koan way in Zen. So, this is just meditation. This is the practice of the jhanas described by Buddha in the Pali Canon. This is shamatha and vipassana, tranquility and insight, coming together as one thing, one experience. We maintain stability and notice new things. We attain to new insights. One way we can understand this dual packaged thing. But I just want to read this to you because there's a beautiful poem in it, and then the author gives us 10 things to consider as we practice in this style that is popularly called Zen. So, let us comment on the technique of observing one's mind in tranquility, the original and more orthodox Zen practice which has been neglected for so long in the overwhelming attention given to koan exercises. The Zen practice of the Cao Tong, the Soto school, can be summed up in these two words: serene reflection, Chinese, Mo Chao. This is clearly shown in the poem from the Notes on Serene Reflection by the famous Zen master Hong Chi of the Soto school, and I am sure that I am mispronouncing these names, and I apologize. So here's the poem. Silently and serenely one forgets all words. Clearly and vividly that appears before them. When one realizes it, it is vast and without limitations, without boundaries, without edges. In its essence, one is clearly aware. Singularly reflecting is this bright awareness. Full of wonder is this pure reflection. Dew and the moon, stars and streams, snow on pine trees, and clouds hovering on the mountain peaks. From darkness, they all become glowingly bright. From obscurity, they all turn to resplendent light. Notice the emphasis on this light. The mind possesses this clarity, but also this brilliance, this emptiness, but also this luminescence. So I'll continue. Infinite wonder permeates this serenity. In this reflection, all intentional efforts vanish. Serenity is the final word of all teachings. Reflection is the response to all manifestations. Devoid of any effort, this response is natural and spontaneous. Disharmony will arise if, in reflection, there is no serenity. All will become wasteful and secondary if, in serenity, there is no reflection. So we're not just sitting still with nothing on the mind. We are sitting still with nothing on the mind, observing, sitting still with nothing on the mind, reflecting. The truth of serene reflection is perfect and complete. Ah, look, the 100 rivers flow in tumbling torrents to the great ocean. Without some explanations and comments on this poem, the meaning of serene reflection may still be enigmatic to many readers. The Chinese word mo means silent or serene. Chao means to reflect or to observe. Mo Chao may thus be translated as serene reflection or serene observation. But both the serene and the reflection have special meanings here and should not be understood in their common connotations. The meaning of serene goes much deeper than mere calmness or quietude. It implies transcendency over all words and thoughts, denoting a state of beyond, of pervasive peace. The meaning of reflection likewise goes much deeper than its ordinary sense of contemplation of a problem or an idea. It has no savor of mental activity or of contemplative thought, but is a mirror-like clear awareness, ever illuminating and bright in its pure self-experience. To speak even more concisely, serene means the tranquility of no thought, Chinese wu nian, and reflection means vivid and clear awareness. Therefore, serene reflection is clear awareness in the tranquility of no thought, no mind. This is what the Diamond Sutra meant by not dwelling on any object, yet the mind arises. The great problem here is, how can one put his mind into such a state? To do so requires verbal instruction and special training at the hands of a teacher. And I'll add that while admirable friends are essential, they can be found in many forms. So, there's an emphasis here on finding a master, which is not always possible, and in all cases, I would say is not always the best thing. So, I'll continue reading. The wisdom eye of the disciple must first be opened, otherwise he will never know how to bring his mind to the state of serene reflection. And I'm going to suggest that there are cases of spontaneous serene reflection. In the suttas, we're told that Buddha as a child fell into the first jhana. I think it happens. We don't always need, it's not required that we enter into some sect of some interpretation of the Buddha's teaching. We can learn and practice and learn. But I'm just responding here to this. I'll continue reading. The uninitiated never know how to do this work. But if one knows how to practice this meditation, she has already accomplished something in Zen. This serene reflection meditation of the Soto sect, therefore, is not an ordinary exercise of quietism or stillness. It is the meditation of Zen, of prajna paramita, the perfection of wisdom. Careful study of the preceding poem will show that the intuitive and transcendental Zen elements are unmistakably there. The best way to learn this meditation is to train under a competent Zen master. And I like how the author finishes this. If, however, you are unable to find one, you should try to work through the following 10 suggestions, which I think are very valuable to us Western people around the world who are interested in Buddhism but don't have the cultural context and we don't have teachers readily available, I am considering my Western friends with compassion. That's why I'm responding to this guy who is putting such emphasis on finding a specific kind of teacher. But then he's following up with these 10 suggestions, which are, in my opinion, really valuable. They're quintessential instructions on Zen practice that the author has learned through great difficulties and long years of Zen study. It is his sincerest hope that they will be valued, cherished, and practiced by some serious Zen students in the West. And now the 10 suggestions on practice. Look inwardly. 1. Look inwardly at your state of mind before any thought arises. 2. When any thought does arise, cut it right off and bring your mind back to the work. 3. Try to look at the mind all the time. Guard the sense doors. 4. Try to remember this looking sensation everywhere, in all the daily activities. 5. Try to put your mind into a state as though you had just been shocked. Hypervigilant, aware, clear. 6. Meditate as frequently as possible. A lot of these suggestions have to do with this continual practice of mindfulness. 7. Practice with your Zen friends the circle running exercise, as found in the discourses of Master Shu Yun. And it's basically you run around in a circle until somebody strikes this thing, and then the sound, after the sound everybody sits down and meditates for an hour, and then they do it again. Run around, sit down. Sounds fun. 8. In the midst of the most tumultuous activities, stop and look at the mind for a moment. So again, on the theme of always practicing mindfulness. 9. Meditate for brief periods with the eyes wide open. I always meditate with my eyes open. And I've heard that Bodhidharma cut off his own eyelids so that his eyes would remain open. And where his eyelids fell, I have heard that therefrom grew the first green tea leaves, tree, bushes. 10. Final suggestion, and I love this one because I love this tradition, I love these sutras. Read and reread as often as possible the Prajna Paramita Sutras, such as the Diamond and Heart Sutras, the Prajna Paramita of 8,000 verses, the Maha Prajna Paramita Sutra, etc. There's a whole bunch of sutras in this tradition that all I have read by the scholar Edward Kahns suggest that the first of these was the perfection of wisdom in 8,000 lines, and then it expanded into like hundreds of thousands of lines, I think, and then it came back down and condensed into the Diamond and the Heart Sutra, which is the shortest one. And they all revolve around this perfection of wisdom, which Zen, I guess, could be considered a part of these efforts to see beyond the dualistic, discriminating mind, and to live in a way free of the pains and problems caused by dualism. Living in the world, but not confined by the limitations imposed by dualistic false imagination. And another book I suggest you take a look at is the Lankavatara Sutra, which I guess the legend is that Bodhidharma carried this sutra. It teaches us about 8 minds, the 8 discriminating vijnanas, the sense minds, the intellect. It's like the hub of the wheel for those minds. And then this deeper intuitive manas that has like movement in the storehouse mind. Alaya vijnana is the 8th mind. And all of these are disturbed or obscured dharmakaya. It's dharmakaya set